Imagine you did everything right. You went to school, you got the degree, you found the stable job, you don't overspend, you don't gamble, you don't waste money on things you don't need, you followed the rules. Every single one of them. And yet, at the end of every month, you look at your bank account and something is wrong. The groceries cost more than they did last year. The rent went up. The insurance climbed again. You're not drowning, but you're not moving forward either. You're running as fast as you can, just to stay in exactly the same place. And the strangest part is the silence around it. Because when you look around, everyone seems to be managing. The neighbors have a new car. Your coworker just booked a vacation, so you assume the problem must be you. Your discipline, your choices, some flaw in how you handle money that everyone else has figured out. I want you to hold on to that feeling for the next 10 minutes, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly where it comes from, and I promise you, it is not where you've been told to look. I'm Capital Inspector, and this is the hidden cost of being middle class. Let's start with the lie. Not a malicious lie, a statistical one. Every year, governments publish inflation data. In the United States and Canada, the official inflation rate has averaged somewhere between 2 and 4% for the past 2 decades. 2%. It sounds harmless, invisible, the kind of number that shouldn't change your life at all. It's the number on the news, the number in the speeches, the number that's supposed to reassure you that things are, more or less, under control. But that number hides something, because the Consumer Price Index is an average, and an average is a kind of magic trick. It takes the things that exploded in price and quietly blends them with the things that barely moved. A cheaper television here, a more expensive surgery there, and the math smooths it all into one calm, forgettable figure. The problem is that you don't live in the average. No one does. You live in your specific basket of expenses, and if the things that dominate your budget are exactly the things rising fastest, then the official number isn't describing your life at all. So let me show you what the average is hiding. While the headline told you 2%, the cost of housing in major North American cities rose 60 to 100% in a single decade. University education climbed roughly 40% in real terms. Health insurance premiums in the United States rose over 50% in 10 years. And the price of groceries, the proteins, the fresh food you actually feed your family rose at 2 to 3 times the official rate. Now look at what got cheaper over those same years. Televisions, electronics, toys, clothing made in distant factories. The things you buy once every few years fell in price. And the things you cannot escape, shelter, health, education, food, climbed relentlessly. So the average held steady, and your life got more expensive anyway. Both things were true at once. That is the trick. So I'll ask you a simple question. Which number do you actually live inside? The 2% on the news? Or the one you feel every single time at the checkout? Here's what I've come to understand. To explain why your life feels expensive, you have to stop staring at prices. Prices are the symptom. We need to look at the machine underneath them. And inside that machine, there are 3 forces. Most people go their entire lives without seeing them. By the end of this video, you won't be able to unsee them. The first force is the quiet divorce between productivity and pay. For most of the 20th century, there was a deal. An unspoken agreement at the heart of the economy. When workers became more productive, when they produced more value in every hour of labor, their wages rose alongside that value. It wasn't charity, it wasn't perfect, but it was real. Your parents could buy a home on one income. They could put children through school. They could retire with something left over. Then, sometime in the 1970s, that deal quietly came apart, and almost no one announced it. Since 1979, the productivity of the American worker has risen by more than 60%. And over that same stretch of time, the wages of the typical worker, adjusted for inflation, have barely moved at all. Sit with that for a moment. The work became dramatically more valuable. The worker did not. The gap didn't vanish. It went somewhere. It flowed upward, to shareholders, to executives, to the owners of capital. So where did all that value go? Hold that question. We are going to come back to it. The second force is what happens when the things you need to survive become the things other people invest in. Housing used to be simple. It was the place your family lived. Today, that same house is an asset class. Bought, held, traded, and optimized for profit by institutional investors and private equity firms with billions of dollars to deploy. And here is the problem. When a single house has to be two things at once, a home for a family and an investment for a fund, the price stops being set by what a family earns. It starts being set by what an investor is willing to pay. And an investor with access to cheap borrowed money can almost always outbid a family trying to buy a place to live. And it did not stop at housing. Healthcare became an industry optimized for returns. Education became a product sold on borrowed money. Even childcare became a market priced beyond the reach of the people who depend on it most. The third force is the quietest of the three, and in many ways the most dangerous. It is the slow, deliberate transfer of risk off of large institutions and onto your shoulders. Go back 30 or 40 years. For a large part of the workforce, your employer carried much of life's financial weight. There were pensions, real ones, that promised a defined income for the rest of your life. Healthcare often came with the job. The institution absorbed the shocks, so the individual didn't have to. Now look at the world that replaced it. The pension is mostly gone, swapped for a retirement account where the ups and downs of the market are now entirely your problem. Healthcare arrives as a deductible, a bill you are expected to manage yourself. And work itself has fractured into contracts, into gig platforms, into part-time shifts with no guarantee of next month, handing the raw instability of the entire economy directly to the person least able to survive it. You. So let me say plainly what all three of these forces add up to. The system did not break. Nothing broke. It was redesigned, carefully, gradually, decade by decade, and you are living inside the redesigned version while holding a map of the old one. Now let me make this real. Let me sit it down at one kitchen table. A household earning $85,000 a year. In most North American cities, that figure is solidly, comfortably middle class. After taxes, that household takes home somewhere around $64,000. Now watch how fast it disappears. Rent or a mortgage on a two-bedroom in a real city, $26,000 to $34,000 a year. Right away, more than a third, gone. 2 cars, because the buses simply don't run where people need to go, with fuel and insurance, around $14,000. Groceries for a family of 4, $13,000. Healthcare, prescriptions, dental, call it $6,000. Utilities, internet, and phones, $4,000 more. Add only those. Only the things you genuinely cannot say no to, and the money is already gone, every dollar of it. And notice what we never even reached. We never reached childcare, which in many cities costs as much as a second rent. We never reached student loan payments. We never reached a single dollar saved for retirement, for emergencies, for the future this family is supposedly building. This is the part I need you to really hear. This is not a person who is bad with money. There is no daily coffee to cut that closes this gap. This is a structural problem, wearing the costume of a personal one. And the cruelest detail of all is this. 20 years ago, $85,000 genuinely was enough. The income did not fall. The number on the paycheck held. But the ground beneath it shifted 1 year at a time for 20 years until that same paycheck found itself standing on completely different earth. So now, let me return to the question I asked you to hold. Where did all that value go? And why does it feel like the harder you run, the further the finish line slides away from you? Here is the truth that most coverage will never quite tell you. This was never really a story about inflation. Inflation is the symptom we argue about. The disease is something underneath it. The modern middle class is being compressed from 2 directions at the same moment. From above, the price of everything you cannot avoid, housing, healthcare, education, insurance, rises faster than your income ever realistically could. You cannot opt out of shelter or medicine or the cost of raising a child. And those are precisely the costs that climb the fastest. And from below, your power to push back has been quietly stripped away. Unions are far weaker than they were. Changing jobs delivers less and less. And entire industries have had their wages pressed flat by automation, by outsourcing, by a global labor market that can always find someone, somewhere, to do the work for less. And the ladders that were supposed to carry you upward, owning a home, building savings, investing, have been pulled up or rebuilt to serve the people already standing at the top. The housing market rewards those who already own. The stock market rewards those who already hold. And the tax code treats money made from money more gently than money made from work. So understand this, and let it land. You are not falling behind because you failed. You are falling behind because you are running on a track that was quietly tilted against you the entire time you were told the race was fair. So what do you actually do with this? I am not going to insult you with a budgeting tip. You already know how to spend less. You've been doing it for years. That was never the problem, and somewhere deep down, you always knew it wasn't. What I want to leave you with is heavier than a life hack and far more useful. The financial pressure you feel is not a verdict on your character. It is the predictable, almost mathematical result of decisions made over decades about how wages are set, how homes are priced, how risk is divided, and who, in the end, this entire economy was designed to serve. And seeing that clearly is not despair. It is the opposite of despair, because you cannot change or escape or even properly navigate a system you cannot see. Most people spend their whole lives blaming themselves for the design of the room they were placed in. You no longer have to be one of them. Now you can see the walls. In the next episode, we walk directly into the housing market itself, how it became what it is, who it quietly serves, why an entire generation has been locked out of it, and whether anything in all of economic history has ever truly changed it. If this gave you a sharper way of seeing the world, subscribe and send it to the one person you were thinking about as you watched. This channel is for the ones who want to understand, not just survive. I'll see you in the next one.